Hey developers, today we're going to look at ways you can add in social logins to your apps. We're going to use AWS services to do this and my brand new authentication library. So make sure you check it all out and yeah, let's just jump right into it. So to get started, we want to first log into our AWS console and then it'll bring you to the sign in page right here. And then on the sign in page, just type in AWS Amplify and that'll bring up the menu for AWS Amplify. Once you click the AWS Amplify, you'll be on this page. Go ahead and click on the Get Started, and it'll bring you to this Create App Backend page. And then type in your backend name, test YouTube, social login YouTube, or whatever you want to. Click Confirm Deployment, and it'll just take a few minutes. So after the app is created, it'll bring you to this screen. Make sure you click on the backend environments, and you should see something that says Staging. Go ahead and click on the App Open Admin UI. So this will give you a visual interface of your backend so we can add authentication. So you just go ahead and click on the authentication here, and this is where we'll set everything up. So at first you can see here, it defaults to an email address as the primary way people can log in, but you can add in other login mechanisms. So since we're adding our social media logins, we'll need to add in Facebook, which it automatically gives you some information you need to add in, the app ID, the app secret. We're adding another login mechanism for Google, and the last one is for Amazon. So we're going to go ahead and set up all three. And it gives you this redirect URL that we'll need when we set up these services. It also gives you the sign in and sign out redirect URL, which we'll go ahead and just set right now to localhost 3000, since we're going to use a React front end, but you would just go ahead and put whatever localhost or whatever redirect URL you want in here. So let's go ahead and start with setting up Facebook. What we'll need from Facebook is the Facebook app ID and the Facebook app secret. I went ahead and opened up this website. It's the developers.facebook.com, and this is where we can set up our Facebook login. And by the way, I'll leave a link to this Amplify, AWS Amplify, here it is, this social sign-in, OAuth. And this has directions on how you can set up for Facebook, Google, and Amazon and Apple. We're not going to do Apple today because Apple requires you to buy one of their developers' accounts. Google, Facebook, and Amazon don't. So we'll just assume we'll look that for later. If you're interested, go ahead and leave a comment below. We can talk about that in the future. I'm going to go ahead into this Facebook login, and then on the top right-hand side, I'm going to click My Apps. And here's some random apps I've created in the past, but I'm going to click Create App to create a brand new one. It's going to be consumer, and you can see here like Facebook login, Instagram, basic display. And click next here, and it's gonna ask me the display name. So I'm gonna put YT AWS login, and it's asking you for an email address. This is a really old email address I had, but I don't know. I'll put one of my old email addresses in here, and then I don't have a business account, so I'm gonna click Create Account. It's gonna ask me for my password, which I'm gonna go ahead and enter in. So I'm gonna click on Basic, and this will give me the information for my app. So we have the app ID and app secret. I'm going to copy the app ID, and then in the Amplify admin, I'm going to paste it. And now I need the secret. So I'm going to click the show off camera, and I'm going to copy and paste it in there as well. Okay, so I went ahead and added both those in, and I went ahead and minimized Facebook, but basically both has the app ID and the secret in there. There's a few little more configurations that I'd like to do inside here. First is for app domains, I put localhost. Once again, this would be the URL of your production app. For privacy policy URL, I'm just going to put in my blog for right now, programwitheric.com. I'm going to put both those in for the data deletion URL and for the privacy policy URL. Obviously, if this was production, I would need to put the actual ones in there. Also put it in for this one too. Let's see here, put it in right here. And then I'm going to click Save. And it should save it all. The next part of setting up Facebook is we need to click here, Add Product. And then on this page, we click on this Facebook login, click Setup. And this will ask us where we want to set it up for. We're going to just choose Web. And it's going to ask us the URL of the site. So I'm just going to put in HP localhost 3000. We're going to save that. It's going to ask us a little bit about some extra login information. We don't really care about any of this for right now. So then we're going to click on Settings, and this is going to ask us to do a couple of things. First, it wants us to add in this public profile into the standard access to public profile for your Facebook login. So we'll do that in a moment. But one thing I want to do right here is it says valid OAuth redirect URLs. If we go back to Amplify admin, remember this URL here? This is all the same for all three, by the way. I can click on that and then copy and paste it in here. And that should be it. I'm going to save changes. And now I want to go ahead and add in this public profile. So I'm going to click on this get advanced access and click not now. I don't want to take this tour. And then I'm going to look for public profile, this one right here. And I'm going to click get advanced access. I'm going to agree to this, confirm, put my password back in. So that should be it. It should be all set up at this point, and now we should be able to log in with Facebook, which we'll test in a little bit. Okay, so let's set up Google. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, make sure you have a Google account. Sign up for one if you don't. And then you can go to console.cloud.google.com and log in. And the first thing you want to do on the left-hand corner here is click this button and click New Project. So I'm just going to call it YT so Google Login. I don't have an organization or anything, so I'm just going to click Create here. And what we need to do is click back here if you have multiple organizations and then click on this one. Now you do need to set up this OAuth consent screen. So I click on here and I follow this guideline here and I just click Create. I don't have to choose internal or external. And it's going to ask me some information about my app. So let's just fill that out. YT social login, Erik. Actually, I have to use one of my existing emails right here. I don't have that. The app domain, I'm just going to put these all as, well, I'll put this one as localhost, but you would put this basically what your actual app is. And then this one, I'm going to use my program with Erik blog. And I'm assuming if this was real, I would put the actual service link and privacy link here. Add domain for programwitheric.com. Programwitheric.com. So we just put the programwitheric.com there. I'm going to click save. Oh, I do need an email address here. So I'll put in Erik. We'll put in the same one I had before. I'm going to save and continue. Cool, it's asking about scopes. I'm not going to put anything in here. I'm click save and continue, and then back to dashboard. And now I should be able to add in some credentials to actually get what I need. So I'm going to click credentials here. I'm going to add in a new one. So I'm going to create credentials. It's going to be an OAuth client ID, application type, web app. I'm going to call it YT Google login, and it's authorized redirect URLs. This is where, once again, I need to copy and paste this URL here, and I'm going to add it in and click create. Cool, so now it went ahead and gave me the client ID and client secret, which I'm going to just copy and paste into here. And I'll delete this afterwards because I don't want everyone to see this. And cool, so now I have the client ID and client secret in, and we should be all set up. Now I've copied both those in there. Last is Amazon. So once again, you need to go to developers.amazon.com, make sure you have an Amazon account, and then we're going to sign in. After you sign in, you should see this screen here. We're going to click on the developer console link at the top, and then we're going to look for login with Amazon. Click on there, and it always shows a couple of one I created in the past. I'm going to create a new security profile. We're going to call it YT Amazon login, and then the privacy URL, I'm just going to once again use my website, my blog, programwitheric.com, save. And now I should be able to go in and create the secret key. So I'm going to use this new one I just created and click this little security profile. After clicking the cog, go to web settings. And this allows me to, first I need to copy this client ID. I'm going to paste it into my app ID right here. And now I need an app secret. And I'm going to show the secret here. Copy it. Paste it right here. So now I should have the app secret, but I need to do a little bit more configuration here. I need to click edit where it says allowed origin and allowed return origin. I need to copy this URL again, this one right here, and I need to paste it in here to allowed origin and allowed return URL. And I also like to add in this http://localhost 3000, save. And that should be it if I did it correctly. So let's go to the next step and set up the app and see if everything just kind of works. Now, since we have Facebook, Google, and Amazon and all the keys in that we need, we can just click the deploy button at the bottom, confirm deployment, and then this will just take a few minutes and it should deploy our app, and then we'll go ahead and set up the front end. Okay, so the app has been created, and if I click on this little deploy successful button at the top, I can just copy and paste this, and we'll look at our editor now. So we have a basic React app that I created with Create React App. And by the way, I did a similar video of setting up authentication before. Go ahead and click on the link here in the top right hand corner and you can see a full video on how you can set up AWS with an authenticator without social logins. I think it's a really good video, so check it out. We have this app, it's already created, and we also have another thing installed. I installed a couple of things here. I installed through npm, or you can use this with Yarn. I have AWS Amplify UI React and AWS Amplify installed. So make sure you installed both of that into your React app. And this would work the same for Vue, except instead of UI React, it'd be UI Vue or UI Angular too. And then I also have the Amplify CLI installed. So to install that, you do npm I at AWS Amplify CLI tac G, and that'll install the Amplify CLI so we can do some of the things that we're going to do here in a second. And right now I'm just in a basic React app with nothing else changed other than just those libraries installed. So since I copied and paste this, I'm going to paste it here. And what this will do, if this is the first time running it, it might ask you a question about setting up your Amplify account, but otherwise it should automatically pull the information down. It might require me to confirm that I am the user of this account. So we'll just give this a second here. Okay, so it brought up a browser here to confirm who I am. I'm gonna click yes, and it should say success, receive the admin tokens. It's gonna ask me a few questions. Yep, I'm using Visual Studio Code, JavaScript, this is a React app, source. I'm just gonna hit enter all the way through, and it should download all the information into the Create React App project. I'm gonna hit yes there for modifying the back end. Cool, so it went ahead and downloaded. And if you look at this app now, I have this new Amplify folder, and it has basically all that authentication stuff I added in. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the server, npm run start or yarn start. By the way, I'm using npm on this, but you might be using yarn. Usually Create React App, you use yarn, but it should work. So it'll go ahead and load the app. So right now I just have the default Create React App screen. And so the next thing I want to do is so you can see here in my folders, I have the app.js file. I want to just make some modifications for this. First, I'm going to delete all this out. And I'll put in h3 hello world just to see if it changes. Cool, I see my hello world. But what I want to do now is import everything for this authenticator. And if you want some directions on how to do that, you can do ui.docs.amplify.aws. This is the new Amplify authenticator. It just makes it really easy to access and use the Cognito or AWS services to create authentication and a bunch of other things. And if you click on the components and authenticator for React, it gives you a bunch of information. So we can actually just copy and paste this here instead of doing it the other way. Cool, so now we have our import of our authenticator from UI React. We have the styles that we want. But you know what? I'm gonna use with authenticator. You can use either way. So one, you wrap the actual app with it, like this, authenticator. And the other one, you can just have like a component inside and then surround everything that you want only to show when the user is logged in. But I think since we're just doing a very simple example, we're going to use this with authenticator here. And if I save it, and I go back to my app, and I refresh it. Oh, and while it's loading, I want to try one other thing. Is I'm going to import in auth from AWS Amplify. And if you remember, when we created the app, it actually added into our source folder this AWS-exports file, this one right here. And so what we want to do is use that. We want to import that into this file. So I'm going to import in, I'm going to call AWS_exports from AWS exports. And then I'm going to use auth.configure AWS exports. And so this should load up our app, and it should auto detect our social logins, so everything should show up correctly. And if we just give it a second, it should do that. It's compiling. Cool, here it is out of the box. Here, I'll make it a little bit bigger. You see here it has the login for Amazon, Facebook, Google. You also have a create account. So let's see if it works. I'm going to try sign in with Amazon first. Cool, it asks me if I want to give access to it. I'm going to click allow. And it should automatically detect everything. Cool, so it logged me in. Now, so let's add a way that we can actually log out. So with Authenticator, there's a hook called Use Authenticator that we provide that gives you some handy dandy functions. And one of them is signing out. So we can do something like this. Const sign out equals use authenticator. And then we can just create a button, log out. And we'll just bind it to our onClick and have that equal this sign out. So if we did it right, we should now see a sign out button, which is good. Click sign out, it automatically signs out of the app and it goes back to the login page. So we have Amazon working. Now let's try Facebook. Click Facebook, it says, are you sure? Now we haven't actually submitted our Facebook app for production. We could have done that, but just for now, it gives us this little warning. Click continue as Erik, and it signs me in, and it should redirect back. Cool, so now we're logged in again. And the last one is sign in with Google. And if we click here, it's gonna ask me to log in. So I'll just pick one of my email addresses here. Cool, and so I'm logged in. So you can see here, I've created 3 different social logins. Now, one thing someone asked me is like, well, what do you do with this after you log in? Well, there's a couple things real quickly. First is that you do have JWT tokens. So let's say I log back in with Amazon and I sign in here and I allow. So now I'm signed into the account. If I look into my inspector, I pull that over and I go to application and then look at session storage, local storage, here it is. You have these Cognito tokens that you can retrieve, and you can also retrieve them using the AWS Amplify library themselves. And you can send these off as authorization bearer tokens to a custom backend. And then there's ways, pretty simple ways of verifying the JWT tokens that they are actually created from Amazon and that they haven't expired. And then you can use those in your custom backend to use it as an authorization token. You can even, if they have 3 tokens it comes with, an access token, an ID token, and a refresh token. So you can use all 3, and especially the access token, ID token, to look at the scopes of your project to see if they have different groups in them and to provide different access. It also ties right back into the whole AWS ecosystem. So you can use things like API Gateway to say if they can only be allowed in if they have this token being sent over. And if they don't have this token being sent over, then deny them this Lambda function that connects to this Mongo or this DynamoDB endpoint. So there's a lot of security you can do, and you can roll your own and have your own custom node backend and then just double check these tokens when they come through, or you can simply use AWS services. So if you're interested in something like that, leave a comment below. Maybe I can show how you would want to use this login system to connect to your own backend Express server, verify the JWT token, and then based on that, provide certain access to certain endpoints, things like that. So let me know. Also, if you want to learn more about AWS, maybe click one of these videos. Thanks.